Hey guys, if you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please know that help is available. Call now at 833-999-1877 or click the Info Addiction Help link on the top right corner of this video. Addiction specialists are available to offer support 24/7. Hey, welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast. I'm your host, Brian Alzate. This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. The show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com. Hey, welcome to Hell Has an Exit. I'm your host, Brian Alzate, and today I have Brian on the show. What's your last initial?
H.
Brian H.
Yes.
All right, from Philly.
That's right.
From North Philly?
That's right, North Philly, born and raised.
Like Will Smith?
Well, no, yeah,
Well,
but he's from West Philly.
Okay.
But yes, I am born and raised in North. You know what?
Is that how the song goes? Is it West Philly?
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Okay.
I'm from a different part of town.
Okay.
It's a little bit more rougher in North Philly.
Oh, North Philly is rougher than West Philly.
Yes, it is. Debatably. Now, I have some people from West Philly
saying, of course. You know, I read his book, and it's one of my favorite books.
Will Smith?
He has a book called Will by Will Smith. Mm-hmm. Man, it's incredible.
Yeah, I saw a documentary of him writing the book and him doing reads around the table with his family and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. He broke down and cried when he was reading some of those chapters.
So I've read a lot of like celebrity books or whatever, and a lot of times it's real surface level. Like, it's just like, yeah, you know, I was struggling and now I'm doing good and then whatever. But like, it doesn't get like the nitty gritty. Mm-hmm. Man, there are some parts of his book where you're just like, wow, like he really uncovers like the most vulnerable parts about him. He talked about being wrong a lot of times. All the shit with his family growing up, like it's a real true autobiography.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember some parts about it. About his father that he talked about. And
because
his relationship with him.
I mean, at the end of the book, he talks about how, like, because his father was, you know, a drunk, abusive alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And he talks about he had this thought, like, when he was helping him up the steps, like, if I push him off these steps and kill him right now, will anyone ever know?
Wow.
Because, you know, as a kid, you want to get revenge, and you talk about revenge your whole life. But, like, they had mended their relationships. It was a quick thought. But, yeah, it was pretty interesting. He put that in the book just to, you know, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Let's get to how it all started.
Well, I'm from Philly. I'm from North Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I actually am an uptown, downtown kid. What I mean by that is that my mother, she raised me, she moved us up to Mount Airy, West Oak Lane, when I was still a small child. And my grandmother and all my cousins, they still lived in North Philadelphia. So I went to school uptown, Mount Airy, and I went to Catholic school. I went to private school. And then I eventually wound up in public school when I started acting up. But I always would go back down in the city.
You grew up with a two-parent household?
Nah, just my mother raised me by herself.
Okay.
So it was basically my mother raised me with the help of my grandma.
Okay.
Yeah, my father wasn't around. He had issues with abuse and addiction. My mother, she chose not to, live with that. She said that he would put his hands on her, and she decided not to stay in that kind of relationship. So they got a divorce soon after I was born, and soon after they were married. They were already divorced. Mm-hmm. My mom, she's a real go-getter. She moved us out of the city and got us a house in a good neighborhood of Mount Airy, which was uptown.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you in contact with your father growing up?
Nah, I'm an abandoned child.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I grew up comparing myself to my friends who had mothers and fathers and always wanting to have a dad. If my mom had a boyfriend, I would kind of cling to those guys. Or not cling to them, but look up to them. And maybe it was one guy named Joe, who was a white man, that my mother had a relationship with. And I kind of consider him my dad because he was so kind to my mother and kind to me and took me to Disney World and like Jamaica and Puerto Rico when I was just a child, you know. I really looked at him like a father figure. I always wanted that kind of male role model. For me, he fit the bill for the time that him and my mother was together.
Where did things go left?
Well, throughout my whole life, I've had anger issues. I found myself always fighting in school, fighting on the block. I think it stemmed from me having abandonment issues. It's a culture within the Black community. If you're light skinned, you're soft, and if you're dark skinned, you're tough. So I grew up with guys thinking I was a pussy.
Were you big growing up? Because you're pretty big now.
I was always about the same size.
Okay.
I was always about 85 percentile height, type of person. I never was a short guy. But it just was this kind of thing in the neighborhood where
light skin was soft.
Yeah, if you're a light skinned guy, you're soft. And I just wasn't going for that. I found myself defending myself from being bullied or even being jumped. Because like you just asked me, was I always the same size I was? So a lot of times guys didn't want to fight me one-on-one. So it would be 2-3 guys fighting me. Sometimes I would get the better of them, and sometimes I would just get my ass whooped and have to go home. But that's how I grew up. And I accepted my ass whoopings, My mother never would even know I was in a fight.
Yeah.
I didn't go home and like, Mom,
cry,
I got beat up or whatever like that. I just would either get my ass whooped or I would whoop some ass. And my mom would be like, how was your day? It was cool, Mom. Just another day. But out of that anger, I never knew where to put that anger. And I really didn't know where that anger came from until I got into recovery. Me wanting to be accepted and having those abandonment issues made me follow the crowd of the older guys and the guys that was hustling. And that's where it sort of went left for me. Because in North Philadelphia, where my grandmother lived, see, I'm 51 years old. So during my teenage years was the 80s. So around 85, 86, 87, 88, I'm 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. I think in 88, I was like 15, 16 years old, 17, something like that. Hustling was where it was at. When I grew up, I wanted to be a drug dealer. That was one of my goals and ambitions. Like, what do you want to be, Brian? I want to be a drug dealer. Looking back as a grown man, that's pretty dangerous and stupid. But as a child, looking at the guys with the brand new Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and the gold chains and the Gucci sneakers and the Sergio Tacchini sweatsuits and the fly girls with the big earrings, I wanted to be like that because they were the popular people. They always had money. If you needed some money, you can always go to one of those guys if you were a cool guy, and they would slide you a couple of dollars. That's kind of where it went left for me because I found myself hanging with those guys and I became one of the cool young boys. Young boys is a term we use in Philly. I wound up being one of the cool young boys and I could ride around with the dope boys in their cars while they was doing pickups or drop-offs. I could remember me being like 14, 15 years old and they used to pass me coke and I'd be snorting it right there with them and I would feel cool because here I am 15 years old with my neighbor, he's, 21, he's still a young man himself, but I'm 14 with the 21-year-old and his brand new BMW with the BBS rims and the MCM interior and the MCM rag top. And I'm feeling like the man.
I would imagine it's just like Paid in Full.
Just like Paid in Full. Just like Paid in Full. And he's like, yo, B. And he's passing off stuff and people putting money in the car. And they're like, yo, what's up, B? And I'm the young boy in the car like, yo, what's up? And he passed me the powder and I'm like, and I'm feeling like the shit, And I think, that's where it start going left.
Was powder really like the thing? Like, were you drinking and smoking already? Or were you not really into drinking and smoking?
I jumped in head first.
Into powder?
I was in the drinking, I was in the smoking, and I was in the snorting.
Yeah.
But it officially started off drinking. My background is music, so I have a music background. And I was in a rap group when I was a young teenager, all the way until adulthood, but I'll get into that.
Yeah.
We had this group up in Mount Airy called Versatile, where we would rap and sing and dance. And we used to do parties, block parties, house parties. At those parties, we would get alcohol. Either the parents were like, hey, you guys want a beer? Even though we was teenagers, we were the DJs. We were the entertainment. My boy Eric would be cutting the records. I'd be on the microphone rapping. My boy Chuck would be on the beat machine. And they would offer us alcohol. So it started from just drinking. It progressed to marijuana. And then from there, it progressed to cocaine.
What happens as a young adult?
As a young adult, I become a semi-successful drug dealer. I always got a lot of cocaine around or a lot of marijuana. And this was without the knowledge of my mother, too. I didn't have the kind of mom that was cool with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I would have to hide my money. I would have to hide the drugs. I would have to hide being high. I became a semi-successful drug dealer as a young adult, not as a teenager. As a teenager, I was more a user and a hang around. So I would hang around the dope boys and hang around my older friends as they were selling drugs, because that's another thing. In Mount Airy, none of my friends were drug dealers. But when I went down North Philly, mostly all my friends were drug dealers. And I would be on the corners with them while they selling crack. And they would be drinking 40s of Old English, snorting coke, selling crack, listening to rap music. And I would be coming down for the weekend, hanging with them on the corner. It was exciting, you know. And
what kind of music was popping off back then?
Public Enemy,
Okay.
Eric B. Rakim. We used to even listen to some of this Florida music.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what? Trick Daddy? That wasn't even around
No,
yet.
not Trick Daddy. The booty music. Uncle Luke.
Uncle Luke, yeah.
Yeah. Uncle Luke was, some of that Uncle Luke was popping. Yeah, LL Cool J, things like that, you know. That's the music that was popping in Philly. Schoolie D, a Philadelphia artist. But that's the kind of rap music we was listening to. It was still the golden age of rap music, you know. Like I say, Public Enemy and that kind of thing. It was exciting. It was exciting because rap music was brand new. It had just came out like 81, 82. I mean, it was creating itself in the late 70s, but by the time the 80s had jumped,
it was like established
it was a thing.
Genre. Yeah.
So rap music is brand new, and that's my era. I'm coming up. This is the music that we identify with. Drug dealing, crack and cocaine is brand new. Well, at least the crack was. That was brand new.
Yeah.
And the way that money was coming in, I mean, my friends were 15 years old. The older dope guys would give them $1,000 worth of drugs to sell. Right? So we would be sitting around, they had $1,000 in a bag worth of cocaine, right? And we used to open up every bag and take a little tube out of every bag and tape it back up. So we'd be out there skied up, you know, and I'm watching that. That was the excitement of that during the weekend. And then I would go up Mount Airy. And
so you had that double
friends,
life.
I had a double life.
You know, I think most drug addicts have that in them where they're able to turn it off and turn it on. And they have like these two sides of them that they need to battle.
I definitely had that double side. I go uptown, I tell my friends up Mount Airy the things that I was doing, how we was living, you know, because up Mount Airy, all we was doing, we might smoke a joint, you know, or drink a little beer.
Yeah.
But down North Philly, they snorting cocaine. One of the things that I put in this book that I'm writing now was when I heard this term, cocaine and champagne. That seemed like the flyest thing that my 15, 16-year-old brain was like, cocaine and champagne. You know, the guy who said it had a fly car and gold chain on and, you know, it's the coke's just passing around. I'm like, damn, that's some fly shit. Cocaine and champagne. So I go up Mount Airy and I'm like, yo, cocaine and champagne. They're like, what you talking about, B? Yo, down North Philly, man, they snort coke, they getting money. This is what's going on, this and the other, which made me a little bit popular in uptown because I'm bringing a different culture, but it was to my demise. You know,
yeah, and I think like when I was doing coke, I think that when I started doing it and telling people about it, it was instantly people looking down like, nah, bro, like a lot of people didn't think it was cool. Where I think as like prior, when it first started coming out in the 80s, it was like a hip, classy drug. But when I was doing it, people were like, nah, bro, you can't be doing powder. Like it was like looked down upon, you know? But when it first came out, yeah, that's how it was marketed, like a rich Wall Street, disco, whatever.
When I was coming up, the older dudes used to have cocaine around their neck and a chain and a little bottle.
Yeah.
That was crazy. How you walk around with cocaine around your neck?
In a bottle. Yeah.
You know, T-shirts, like they would take the Coca-Cola shirts and they would redesign it and they would say, Coke is it. But then they would have a spoon with some cocaine on the shirt. It was crazy in the 80s, man. That's when I was introduced to cocaine and marijuana. But like what you were saying, like, what about as an adult? How was I as an adult? When I got to my 20s, I was in another rap group called HHE&x. I had a record contract with a football player named Blair Thomas, who played for the Jets, was drafted out of Penn State. And around the time, he had about 18 million. As he got older, he backed up Emmitt Smith as a running back. We made really good music, and we were like a local hit. After that, was able to start touring overseas around the world with a guy named Greg Osby.
That's crazy.
Doing jazz hip-hop music. Because I'm from Philadelphia, and as you know, the roots are from Philadelphia, and they do the hip hop with a band type of thing. And I was doing the same thing over Europe with Greg Osby, who was signed to Blue Note Records. And my group 100X actually produced his album 3D Lifestyle. So I was able to tour off of that with groups like The Roots and Diggable Planets and Tito Puente and all these jazz acts and R&B acts. And, you know, the money's flowing. And at the time, I have Susquehanna Avenue on lock in North Philadelphia selling pounds of marijuana. As that's progressing, my money's progressing, my ego's also progressing, my ego's also growing. And as the music is getting bigger and bigger, it's a basketball player from North Philadelphia also by the name of Rasheed Wallace. I get a record contract with Rasheed Wallace when he signed his first deal for $80 million. And so I'm on top of the world. My ego's out of control. I'm snorting coke like a motherfucker. I'm drinking and drugging heavy. You really can't tell me nothing at that time. You know, my ego is in the driver's seat. And if anybody told me to slow down, like you said, your friends would look at you down. I didn't have those kind of people around me. You know, if you was around me, you was either doing what I was doing and encouraging that behavior, you know, because for me, it was my way. It was my way or the highway. Because I'm making good money. I'm on TV. I'm on BET. I'm on MTV.
What's your relationship with your mom like?
At this time, my relationship with my mother is real shaky. As I was getting more into the street life, my mom was like, she was getting on my back, heavy, like getting on my back, getting on my back, getting on my back, to the point where I just left. And I just totally went down North Philly. I wouldn't live with my grandmother. Because in my mom's house, she just wasn't having it. But I would not listen to her. I was going to do what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to keep on hearing her getting on my nerves about me doing the wrong thing. So I left. So during that time, me and my mom's relationship wasn't good at all. I was able to get away with more at my grandmother's because she was older and I could run circles and she would like sleeping or something like that. And I could do my own thing. And then also down North Philly is where it was all popping at. That's the environment I chose to be in, which also led to why I even came to recovery needing help.
So what goes on later on where things start to, you know, I guess, you know, spiral out of control?
Things had already started to spiral out of control. I could put Band-Aids on it. I could hide it. I could mask it. It'd be certain times where we had studio time, I wouldn't even show up because I'm somewhere getting high, you know? And then I would come back with a crazy story about this, that, and the other, whatever. I got with a girl or whatever like that. But I was missing the studio sessions because I was somewhere getting high. The drugs I used to have around me, I started just doing all the damn drugs. So I ain't got nothing to sell, you know, because I done did them all. But I still had some money because I had rap money. So things were starting to, you know, unravel at that time, you know, already. Because I kept my appearance up, it was hard for anybody to tell, you know, because I wore a mask where, you know, I would say I'm happy, I would look clean, I would look fresh, but they didn't know that what I was doing all night long, you know. Around that time when I was rapping, it really started to unravel. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't make it to where I was supposed to make it in the rap game, because I blew my career. You know, I was opening up shows for Biggie Smalls.
Oh,
I was doing shows with Mobb Deep. I was doing shows with Wu-Tang Clan, Ice Cube, all the people that was coming out in the 90s. Because we're in the 90s now when I'm a young adult. All those guys that came out in the 90s, I was doing shows with them. You know, I was going up New York. I was doing the Source Awards. I did red carpet with Brandy interviewing me in 2001 on the red carpet at the Source Awards.
Oh, that's crazy.
So, and at the same time, Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel, I'm on the red carpet. Destiny's Child is right in front of me. Brandy interviews Destiny's Child, The next group that comes up is my group. They interview me. The next group behind me was Busta Rhymes or whatever like that. So I'm in the mix with all these guys. I remember when I was at the Source Awards, Trina sat in front of me. And I was like, oh shit, that's the baddest bitch. And she looked around and turned and looked at me. And she was like, oh, you crazy. I was like, yeah, baby. And I'm just on some bullshit. But, you know, I was in the mix with all these guys, you know. But I blew my career because I chose to just do a lot of drugs instead of being focused on my craft, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't make it, because I let these drugs and alcohol get the best of me because I was really, really good.
Yeah, I have friends who, similar situation where, you know, they were like coming up with people that were really successful and they know they could have been one of them. And it's really hard for them to get clean because they just keep thinking about, you know, what they lost and trying to make up for that. And then like so much time goes on, they just feel like even if they got clean, they've missed their boat,
I went through that. I went through that exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I went through this part where I had resentment about life and the things that I lost. Like, damn, I should have been, you know. I watch Wallow and Gilly on TV right now.
Shout out.
And I see some of the things that they're doing. And my group 100X had Philly on lock. It was Ram Squad 100X, had North Philly, Philadelphia on lock. After our era was Major Figure, which was Gilly, Wallow, and Dutch and Spade and, App Live and Bump and all, and Reese Rolex. So after my era was those guys. And, I remember Gilly and, not Wallow because he was in jail at the time, but Gilly and the whole Major Figures coming down to where my boy Lee lived at, who made the beats, to get their production. Because by the time they was trying to come out, our group was already solidified. We had a stamp in the city, and we had some of the hardest beats. So they would come to us to get their production. So I saw these guys come up. So when I see their success, it's like, damn, sometimes I look at myself like, damn, B, you really fucked up, Because in the neighborhood, they call me Staff. They don't know me as Brian. Everybody call me Staff 100X, Mustafa.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, Staff, you really fucked up. I look at the Roots on TV, and I say, damn, Staff, you really fucked up. I used to do shows with Tariq, Black Thought, in New York City at Esso's. I've done shows with the Roots in Switzerland. I've done shows with Diggable Planets. C Knowledge is one of my homies. I've done shows with him in Switzerland. We both did MTV together. And then I look at myself, and I'm in recovery in a halfway house looking at these guys, and, I have been brought to tears, but it's okay.
And you know what? Like, cause there was a time where like, I didn't even know about Gilly's rap career. I just found him on Instagram like years ago. But he was so funny on Instagram. Like, he's so funny, bro. I remember I just love his stories, the way he just like, he's just like he's just funny, bro. And I didn't know that he used to rap. I just know that he's popular in Philly,
Right.
And like, years later, bro, now they have like this crazy podcast. So it's like, a lot of times people think that like their time is over, but like, I love Gilly and Wallow and like their podcasts, and I love how motivational like Wallow is. And like, dude, this dude was in prison for like 20 years.
Yeah.
He's only been out for 5.
Yeah.
And he's amassed all this success. It's really incredible what people can do in a short period of time, even though they're later on in their life. They're in the 3rd chapter of their life, So a lot of times I think people get down on themselves because they didn't do something really incredible their first 2 chapters of their life. But man, sometimes people don't really plateau or hit their peak until, their mid-40s.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was reading something, and they said most millionaires who amass their wealth in their older age have a advantage of keeping all their money.
Yeah.
While those who make it younger have a better advantage of losing it.
Yeah, most people, like if you're a millionaire like from 20 to 30, you're probably going to lose it. But if you amass it like at 40 to 50, you're probably going to keep it. I have a list in my phone of people who became successful after 40 because I just, want to remind myself that it's never too late to do something new because, I have friends who are successful and I'll be talking about doing something and a lot of them are like, I already have something. Lightning's not going to strike twice. Like they really don't think that they could do something else. Even though they're already successful, they really have this idea that like, I can't do that again. This is all I'm going to worry about. And it's like a lot of people have that mentality. My time is already up.
Yeah, and luckily, I don't stay into that. I don't stay in that. I have had periods where I get upset or and get down, but I don't stay in that.
What was the period like the last 5 years before you got clean, and what led you to actually getting clean?
All right. Well, the 5 years before getting clean, I was still hustling. I wasn't hustling drugs. I got into real estate, right? I started having babies, and I got into real estate. I was like, okay, after I stopped hustling and the rap career, I had my last little bit of money, a little bit of rap money, and I'm doing drugs and crazy. I'm not doing good at all, right? My wife has our first child. Then I get her pregnant again. And she's having a rough time at the house because we're not married and her mom's giving us stuff. And she's like, yo, we got to find an apartment. I found an apartment over top of a barbershop. I'm living there. It's roach infested. I've never lived like this before in my life. I opened up the cabinets, it's roaches. I had all these clothes I had bought when I was rapping because Rasheed Wallace used to give us some money to go shopping with. So I got all the clothes from the 90s. I got Rockaway, I got Coogee. I got a closet full of this stuff. When I opened up, and I had it in this little closet where it's plastic, you could zip it up in the closet. I would unzip the closet and come get my clothes. It'd be roaches. I had to shake out the clothes. It'd be roaches inside the plastic.
They would get in the plastic?
I would wake up doing this. It'd be roaches on my face. It was infested. And I used to be like, my wife and then my girlfriend then wife now used to laugh at me because she would open up the door, come home from work, and I'd just be spraying. I'd open up the cabinet. She'd be like, what you doing, B? I'm like, this is war. And I'd be spraying roaches because it was just roaches all over the place. And I was like, yo, I got to find a house. I got to get out of here because there's just too many roaches. I'm going crazy, right? So I go to the neighborhood real estate place and I got $4,200. I got $4,200 after hustling, rapping, overseas, doing all these great things, MTV, BT. I'm like 24 years old. Yep. I go there and I'm like, yo, I got $4,200. My wife because I didn't even tell my wife about this money because that was one of my things I did. I could have some money, but I'm not going to tell you all the money because I might mess it up. And then you're going to say,
what happened to that money?
What happened to your money? So, I did that dance already. So I had a little bit of money on stash. And the guy was like, he gave us a small price for the house. And my wife said, I got a little bit of money on stash too because birds of a feather flock together. She know my style. And she'd be like, I know he got a little bit of money. But anyway, so we put our little bit of money together, which was like less than $6,000, right? Or around that. We got a house for $11,500 because it was a speakeasy in the neighborhood. Now, I'm from the ghetto. And the houses in my neighborhood were going for like $35,000.
Wow.
Right? So I'm from the ghetto. All right? So this lady, it was a man and a woman. The woman was making her husband sell the house because it was a speakeasy that
What's a speakeasy?
That's an illegal place where you can drink at. So it's an after hour. So after the clubs close, you can go ahead and knock on the door, knock. Yo, I need, some this and that and the other. You go in there, you sit down, you be drinking, and people be in there drinking all night long. And whatever else goes on there, right? So it was a speakeasy or after hour. And the wife was making the husband, he's selling this house because they didn't live in North Philadelphia either. They lived somewhere else. It was a problem for their relationship. So I wound up getting this house for $11,500. No mortgage, straight cash. She was like, give us your down payment.
Oh, that's crazy.
And give me $250 a month. And he was like, baby, my grandmother gave me this house. No, you selling this house because I'm looking for you on the weekends and you down here doing God knows what. So that was our first deal, right? So I got that house for $11,500, right? It was $250 a month. We only owed like $5,000. We paid the house off in like a year and a half or something like that. My buddy, California Mike, his older brother, Tone, had real estate. And he used to always talk about his brother Tone. My brother Tone, real estate. I found out it was a thing called equity. And I had a house that was paid off. The houses are going for $35,000. I only paid $11,000 for it. Maybe I can get some money out of this. I still got a hustler's mentality. So I go to the bank. They give me $32,000 for the house equity, right? I go to the auction. I buy a house from the auction for $8,000, right? I get another $32,000 for that house, right? So now I'm sitting on money. I put a tenant in that house to pay off it was like $285 for a month for the $32,000 I had took out. Boom, I put a tenant in that. Now I'm like, yo, I'm rolling. The neighbor across the street, he's renting that house. And like I said, I'm from the ghetto. I guess they turned the house to a crack house, whatever. He was like, man, I hate this house. And I'm looking out the window at him, and he's talking about how much he hates the house. I talked to him. He said, man, you got $6,000. I'll give you this house. You give me $6,000 cash. Boom, I got $6,000. Baby, bring $6,000 home. I do my due diligence. There's no liens or nothing on the property because I get a title search and title insurance. Give me $6,000. Boom, done deal. My boy is a dope boy on the corner. I turn around and flip that to him just on the strength. Give me $12,000, double my money, right? My other buddy, he's a hustler, right? He shows me a house. He knows I'm getting real estate in the neighborhood. Yo, Staff, I want to show you what I got. He takes me to the house. Nice house. Reminds me of my grandma's house. It's still in North Philly. I'm in the rough part of North Philly. I'm on Cumberland Street. This house is off of Diamond Street, which is where my grandma lives at, right? Better house, 4 bedrooms. I live in a 3-bedroom, about 900 square feet. This is a 4-bedroom, like 1,300 square feet. Still a hood, bigger house, more space. He tells me, yo, Staff, I just bought this house for $5,000. Now, I know he's a hustler. Hustlers always want to double their money. So I look at him, I say, yo, man, I give you $10,000 for this house right now. He looked at me like, Staff, you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious, man. You want to sell this house? I give you $10,000 for this house right now.
What year is this?
This the 90s. This the 90s.
That's crazy.
This the 90s.
Think about.
So he's like, all right, then boom. So I get a title insurance on. I get title insurance on that property. No liens or encumbrances. Boom. 2 weeks later, I give him his $10,000. Bam. This house is a little bit more expensive. I get $52,000 back on this one, right? Off of this one, I buy a huge 3-story building. I buy this huge 3-story building. It was an abandoned building. I buy it for dirt cheap. I mean, there's no windows. It's messed up. I buy it for dirt cheap, $16,000, right? I put a Dominican store in the bottom floor, right? They paying me $1,000 a month. I'm getting rent from the house that I first had. I'm getting rent from the house I got from the auction. I got this house.
The guy down the street.
The Dominican store, I'm getting a G from them. And again, my ego shows up again. I'm out of control. So what brought me to recovery, to wrap this up, I wound up buying 5 houses. And I'm getting rent from all these houses. I'm ghetto balling, right? I'm ghetto rich. I always got 30, 50 grand in the bank all the time. I get higher how I want. I get home when I want. I crash a car, I get another car. I'm ghetto rich. A used car, not brand new Mercedes-Benz and nothing like that, but I'm ghetto rich, right? People in the neighborhood are saying, yo, you got a house I can rent from you? Yeah, I can put you in the house. I'm the man. My ego's out of control. It shows up like when I was rapping. I get introduced to syrup. It's coming out of the 90s into the 2000s. This is all early 2000s when I'm buying the real estate. Because I remember Lil Wayne coming out and the syrup and all that stuff like that. Syrup is popping. I'm drinking syrup. I'm introduced to Percocets. Now I'm drinking syrup and Percocets because the cocaine, you know, that make me geek out. I'm bugging. I don't want nobody to see me. I'm sweating. I'm bugging. You know what I mean? I'm spending money left and right. So I'm like,
syrup
yo,
is cool.
Yeah, but syrup, that's cool. That's cool. That's smooth, right? Yeah. So now I'm drinking syrup. I'm laid back. I get into the Percocets. After the Percocets, I get into the Xannies. Yo, I start drinking so much syrup and taking so many Percocets and taking so many Xannies. Now I'm having seizures. Now I'm nodding. Now what people saying, damn, is he on heroin? Because
it's pretty damn near the same thing.
I'm nodding. I'm in the crap game. I'm shooting, gambling. Yo, what's your bet? Oh, yeah. Oh, you won. Pick up your money. Things like that. I start getting really, really bad on the syrup and perks and pills, man. I remember one time I had all my jewelry on. I nodded out. I'm in the ghetto still. At the dice game, I wake up, I don't have no jewelry on. They done peeled me for everything, right? So it's getting bad. And that's the things that start bringing me to recovery because now I'm not paying my bills on time because, you know, I got home equity loans on those properties, so you still owe a little note on that, right? I put tenants in all those houses to pay the rent. To pay the mortgage. I would get the lump money, and I would put them in the house to pay off the loan. Now, I'm spending the lump money, I'm spending the rent money. And I'm not paying the damn the bills. Yeah. Lose one house, lose another house. I put a friend in the house when I'm in this decline, and I say, yo, this house is a little mortgage on this house for $250 a month, man.
Just pay it.
Just stay here and pay it, because I'm not living in that house. He says, okay. He don't pay the damn $250 a month for a year, and I'm not a businessman anymore. I'm just a junkie, a high-class, fly-ass junkie, right? I'm not reading the mail. I get some mail, and it says, yo, this mortgage ain't been paid for a year. I go to him, I say, yo, you ain't paid $250 for a year? He tell me all these stories, how time's rough and this. I'm like, you live here by yourself. You could have rented the back room for $250 a month, right? So I wound up short selling that house. I'm losing houses left and right. Bro, I lost every house I had. I didn't have no houses. I had 5 houses. I have no houses. I have nothing. I'm down on myself. I'm thinking to myself like, damn. I was buying these houses because my father didn't leave me nothing when he passed away. I said, well, when I pass away, at least I'm gonna have these houses. That was one of my things as being getting this real estate. Like, yo, I'm gonna have something to leave my kids and this and that and the other. I'm gonna teach them the real estate game, this and that and the other. But I just fucked it up. Now I'm really big into my woe is me bag. I done fucked up my rap career. I done fucked up my real estate career. All I got right now is these drugs. And I'm going heavy on the drugs, man. I'm going heavy.
Hey guys, if you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please know that help is available. Call now at 833-999-1877 or click the Info Addiction Help link on the top right corner of this video. Addiction specialists are available to offer support 24/7.
Welcome to the Genesis House powered by the United Recovery Project. Located in sunny South Florida, we offer drug and alcohol addiction treatment as well as a major focus on dual diagnosis. Our addiction therapy programs include behavioral therapy, 12-step facilitation, psychotherapy, life skills training, and more. At our facility, you can expect a low client-to-staff ratio, daily group therapy, weekly one-on-one therapy sessions, and luxury amenities such as volleyball, basketball, pool, chiropractor, personal trainer, yoga, massage therapy, and more. Contact the United Recovery Project today and let's create a better tomorrow.
You know, I'm waking up in places. You know, I'm just waking up places like, damn, where the fuck am I at? How'd I get here? Me and my wife rented a house somewhere else because I don't have no real estate no more. So now we're renters, right? And my wife's yelling at me. I'm on the couch. I wake up on the couch and she's yelling at me and yelling at me. And I'm like, what's up? What's going on? And she's like, you effing up. And, you know, I'm tired of your stuff. And, you know, and now you're coming home from the hospital and, you know, you're killing yourself. And I'm like, yo, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. I wasn't at no fucking hospital. And she says, what's that on your wrist? I look down on my wrist. I got an emergency room band on my wrist. You know how you go to the emergency room, you put the plastic thing around your wrist? And I'm like, oh,
Was that the Xanax?
It was everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit. And it says like the name of the hospital and the time I was there and all that, my name. I'm like, oh, shit. And while I was on the couch,
It's like Shutter Island.
I thought I had a dream. I thought I had a dream of me in an emergency room saying, get the fuck off of me, ripping cords and shit out of me. Get the fuck off of me. And I thought to myself, damn.
That really happened.
That wasn't a dream. That was really me. So now I am like blackout, getting high and getting home, and I don't know how I get high. And I'm having flashbacks of that night on the bus driver saying, hey, wake up, get off the, you know, it's just stop. I'm getting flashes of that now, like, damn, that's how I got home. That's how I got to the couch. That was really me. So now that's starting to happen a lot. My kids, they hear a thud, boom, on the bathroom floor. They come in the bathroom, I'm on the floor having a seizure. I come out the seizure, my daughter screams, Daddy, we thought you were gonna die. And I'm looking up and they're all crying over top of me. And I'm like, yo, I'm fucking up. I'm like, maybe I need some help. All that time, through all those years.
Did you try to get help multiple times, or was this the first time?
I've never tried to get help.
Never. Wow.
Never. I've never,
You
ever
didn't
tried
even
to
know
get
about
help.
meetings or anything like that?
Speaking of meetings, I knew about meetings
Okay.
because my father-in-law belonged to a fellowship. And my wife wouldn't leave me. So he was like, man, I hate your guts. But my daughter won't leave you. Motherfucker, you coming to a meeting.
And he took you to one.
And he took me to a meeting.
What was it like?
It was cool.
Okay.
But I wasn't ready for it.
You were like, this is cool for you.
Yo, I raised my hand in the meeting and I start telling them, yo, what's wrong with smoking weed? I'm gonna smoke weed. I'm in the meeting. I got balls, right? They looking at me like, keep coming back, buddy. You ain't ready. Because I'm talking about, man, you know, I got to stop doing this and doing that, but I'm going to smoke weed. Nobody even asked me this. But I just wanted to raise my hand and just be defiant to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all got the problem. I ain't got no problem. You know, I'm going to smoke weed. I'm going to drink a beer when I want to because I deserve a beer on a hot day after work. And, you know, I'm just talking stuff. And I bet you I can just imagine what people thinking like, this kid ain't ready.
Yeah.
You know, so I never attempted to get help. I was familiar with the rooms, but at that time when I start thinking like I got a problem, I started going to meetings, but I was so addicted that I had to have something in my system to even make it to the meeting.
Yeah.
Because by this point, I wasn't getting high just to have fun. I was getting high to survive.
So URP is your first treatment center?
URP is my first treatment center.
Wow. What was that process like? Like, because, you know, I didn't go to treatment out of state or anything or go to like, you know, a real treatment center when I got clean. So like, you know, sometimes I can't imagine that all these people get on airplanes and just fly and go to like some random treatment center they never heard of.
Well, for me,
Like, how skeptical were you? Because like in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm such a skeptical person. I know most addicts are, that it just seems so insane, right?
well, by this time I was defeated.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there you go.
So that's, you know, but they talk about the
I guess
gift
a plane to Florida doesn't sound too bad, right?
Well, I had that gift of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
I was defeated, man. Like, yo, I actually was so beat up by the drugs. I asked my mom and my wife to take care of everything. And I just sat on the edge of the bed and they were just calling places. And my mom and my wife, they're really like, they're business people. And they're doing their due diligence, and they're calling places, and they're looking at the
Reviews and everything.
And they're like, oh no, that's not for you. And they're reading news articles. One of the places down here was pimping out the girls and having, it was all kinds. And they on it like, nope, not that place, not this place, not this place. They found URP. I didn't find URP. My mother and my wife found URP. So when they looked at me and said, Brian, you can be on a plane tomorrow. You want to go tomorrow, right? I'm like, yeah, I want to go tomorrow. Let's have it, you know? But when I got here, I was still defiant. I was still on some bullshit.
Yeah, tell me about your treatment process.
I bucked the system as much as I could. They would tell me, you know, rules about anything. I was just, no, I'm not doing that. I can do it this way. Or I try to talk my way or negotiate something. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or it still was like, I get money. I'm a hustler. See, you let yourself do this and get that far, but see, I know how to, I was comparing myself. I was on some I just wasn't ready. I knew I wanted help. But when the help was offered to me, I wanted to take the help the way I wanted to take it. The URP would lend out the hand. Okay, we need you to do these 5 things. Out of these 5 things, I'll do that. Oh, I'll do that because I know I can't do that no more. And I'll do that. But I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to do that too. Because, see, I ain't got a problem with this and that. I got a problem with this and that. You see what I'm saying?
What were some of your aha moments or revelations while at your first 30 days at United Recovery Project?
Well, I came to URP 2 times. The first time I came, I didn't have any aha moments.
You just whatever.
I had it in my mind what I was going to do.
So the first time you went to treatment, did you have it in your mind made up that when I leave here, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and no one's changing my mind?
I sure did.
And you knew you were going to drink again?
I did. I drank when I got to the airport. As soon as they dropped me off, like, bye. I'm like, thank you for the treatment. I went right to the bar and got a beer.
Yeah.
And got on the airplane.
You know what's so crazy is that we've had clients in there and we'll tell them you probably won't even make it at the airport. And they're like, y'all crazy. And it's sure thing.
I didn't make it at the airport.
Wow.
I drank as soon as I got, but they call it I already had my mind made up when I got
a reservation.
A reservation. I had a reservation through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of money at the house. Right? About 20 grand.
Let me ask you, so when you're in treatment and you hear about everyone else's story, you're in there thinking I ain't like these people, I got this 20 grand, I would imagine, so.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Everyone's like, oh, I need to get clean because this and that, and you're thinking well, I don't need to do all this because I have X, Y, and Z laid up for me.
Yep.
I don't need all that.
That's right, and I'm thinking of a business plan. I'm gonna take that 20 grand. I'm going to get back in the real estate game. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
If I'm walking around the treatment center and someone's asking me a business question, I'm like, you're the first motherfucker to relapse.
Yeah.
Because it's you could ask me anything. How to stay clean. What's the principle behind step 2? How did you really, come to accept that you can't drink? And you're going to ask me about how to make money? It's your mind is on the wrong thing.
And that's how I was the first time I came down.
My sponsor used to tell me, bro, you're about to fight Mike Tyson. It's going to happen. You're fighting Mike Tyson. Your fight is coming up. You don't know when. If you ain't asking people how to box, you're going to lose.
Yeah. And I lost.
Yeah.
I lost. I wound up going home and tearing through that money.
No business plan.
I had a business plan.
Yeah.
But a plan, you got to initiate it. Right? One thing I did learn, I did have an aha moment. Anything you put before your recovery, going to lose. But I didn't have that aha moment until I was losing it.
And then you started
But I heard it back when I was in recovery.
Yeah, those are the seeds we plant.
Yeah, and it's damn.
Did it fuck up your high? Like, did you start to?
I felt guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting high guilty.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the mirror driving down to the neighborhood like, damn, you're about to really do this again?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you're about to do this again. And I'm like, damn, I'm about to do this again. Yeah, give me one. Yeah, I'm doing it again. Let me go back get some more.
The awareness.
And yeah, I'm aware. It's like, And I'm upset with myself while I'm doing it. I'm getting...
You can't enjoy it no more.
I can't enjoy it, man. I was doing so many pills, man, that somebody gave me a bundle of something to sell. And I wound up doing one of them, and I was sober. And I told my homie, I was like, yo, I gave him the $10, right? Boom, I put it in, I gave him the whole thing back. And I was like, yo, I gave it to somebody. They said they ain't like it. And he looked at me, he's like, they ain't like it. Stop. Everybody in the neighborhood loved this. And I was like, I am fucked up. I'm doing so many pills that the stuff that's the good stuff is not even getting me high. And I couldn't even get high off the pills no more. If it took me this amount to get high, now it takes me this amount to get almost where I used to get.
Normal. When you cross that line of like getting high is no longer getting high, it's just becoming not suicidal. It's like when I wasn't using, I was suicidal. And then when I was high, I just maybe wasn't as suicidal and it's like, I'm not even getting to a good feeling. I'm just getting to a bearable feeling.
Right.
And not using is unbearable.
Yeah.
And when I use, I'm just bearable.
That's crazy.
And it's like, that's when you're like, yo, the drugs ain't working.
It ain't working. And that's crazy when they don't work no more, because it's like, I'm getting more and more and more. I'm just driving and just popping and popping and popping and popping. It ain't get me where I want to be. And I'm just spending money. You know? And I understand why people go from one thing to the next, because this right here costs money, and then you could just get the same feeling for $10.
Yeah.
Right? But I've been through the same thing when I was on cocaine. I went to the next level. Right? And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here, right? Because I don't wanna start putting stuff in my veins and all. So I'm just gonna stay here. But I'm spending every bit of all the money I got.
Yeah.
Spending my money, I'm spending my wife's money, I'm calling my mom, I'm spending her money, calling my grandma, I'm spending her money. You dig what I'm saying? And I'm still not getting where I wanna be.
Like a lot of times people ask me like, oh, I can't imagine getting clean so young. But it's like, I crossed that line and I already was portrayed as this. So there's a point where where using drugs is cool, and then there becomes that line that you cross where it's now embarrassing and humiliating. And like what I'm doing is embarrassing, and I'm humiliating myself. And I know it's embarrassing. I know it's embarrassing to ask for money because people know I'm gonna use drugs. People already looking at me saying like, bro, are you high again? I'm already like ruining the party and ruining the family get together and fucking up Christmas. I'm already like the laughing stock of the neighborhood and looked down on. So it's like, once you're already to that level, as addicts, we think that we're gonna get back to this cool place where like using's cool, and it just doesn't happen.
It didn't happen.
No.
It was a decision I had to make. Either I was gonna go deeper into this rabbit hole, or I was gonna ask for help. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm coming back.
And that's when you came back to Europe.
And that's when I came back.
And what was it like this next time around?
It was rougher. For me, it was rougher. But it was rougher as far as my detox.
So let me ask you something. So a lot of people who have been to treatment don't want to go again, and their response is like, I've already been and it didn't work. And like I always tell people, like, it's like saying you went to the gym and it didn't work. You know what I mean? It's like, this time we're gonna go and we're actually gonna do the work, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I did. I said, B, when you get down here this time, just shut up and just listen. The way I listened and the way I follow suggestions were way easier. My detox, however, was really rough, because I just put all that little bit of change I had saved up, I put it straight in my body. And over the course of 2-3 months. I put all that in my body in over 2 months, 2-3 months, because I just came back 90 days later. And all that money I said I had, I spent it all. I came down with $100. I spent it all. I came down
and
with
when you come back to treatment, you can't really play the same game of like, oh, I got it all together, because it's like, motherfucker, you back here. You know what I mean? Everybody, the staff, everybody showed me love. Nobody was like, motherfucker, you back again. They was like, hey, we're happy to see you. Because what I didn't know that I know now, some people don't get to come back. Yeah, man. And even with like the insurance stuff, it's like, man, we have people who come around, they act like, you know, they don't really need to be here. And then 2 months later, they're begging us to come back. We call their insurance company. The insurance like, nah, they were just there. They ain't getting covered again, you know? So it's like a lot of people think that just because you're able to go once or twice or 3 times, that your insurance is just going to keep letting you go. But at some point, the care managers at the insurance company is like, nah, like this person can't just keep going if they ain't going to change.
Yeah. Luckily for me, that wasn't my my experience. I was able to come 90 days later, busted and disgusted, tail between my legs. My detox was crazy. This was the first time I ever lost touch with reality. And detox, I lost my mind. I came out of the room. It wasn't the first day. It was like the second day or so. I came out of the room and I was saying, I'm confused. I'm confused. They said, Brian, what's wrong with you? They said, well, what are you confused about? I said, I can't make weight. They said, what? I said, I can't make weight. I thought I was in a boxing match. I said, I can't make weight. And my brain, my mind wanted to say something else, but I was stuck, right? I'm confused. Then I just start sweating, right? They put towels all over me. Then I thought I was having a heart attack. The ambulance had to come to the detox and pick me up and take me out on a gurney, right? On one of them, and put me in the thing. Everybody in the detox looking at me, and I'm strapped to the thing. I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. I'm sweating. I'm confused. I'm out of my mind. I have a conversation with my grandmother in the front of the parking lot, telling her, yeah, Grandma, I'm going to get myself together this time. She's done passed away, and I'm talking to an imaginary spirit of her, right? And I go to the hospital. They say, yo, your heart's fine. You're good, right? I sweat for 3 months straight. My bones ache for 3 months straight. Through detox and when I get to the center. IOP and all that, I'm sweating for months. My bones are aching for months. This trip of getting this stuff out of my system was hell. Yeah, well, I had to go through the hell to get to the exit. This time I came through, it was rough, man. My body was like, yo, you literally forced everything in you, trying to do it your way.
Yeah.
I turned into an alcoholic because I said, I ain't gonna mess with the perk 30s and all this. I ain't gonna mess with none of that anymore. So now I'm drinking like a crazy man, right?
Which is the worst detox from anything.
I'm drinking stupid. I'm drinking so much that when my wife comes home, I hide the beer cans and hide the bottles and hide the this, and I might have one beer in my hand. Like, hey, how you doing? But I done drunk a 12-pack and drank a half a bottle of vodka. You see what I'm saying? And then when it got to the point where I was drinking so much, it clicked like, B, why don't you just go get what you want? Because you're vomiting and everything like that and doing all, you know what you like, and it ain't gonna make you feel like this, and you only need a couple of, I rationalized myself into getting high again, right? And when I came down here, like I just told you my experience in detox, by the time I got out of detox, I said, you know what, B, we're gonna really do this, and we're gonna put the work in this time. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know nothing no more. I'm going to follow your suggestions. They tell me to go to a meeting, I go to a meeting. They tell me to go pray, I go pray. Whatever they told me to do, I did it. They say, get a sponsor, I get a sponsor. They tell me, don't get that sponsor because it heard something about you, get another sponsor. You can't be my sponsor no more. I get another sponsor. Everything they told me to do, I did it. And that's how I was able to accumulate the clean time I have today by shutting up and listening to what people who have better experience in winning in this than I have. And that's how I have got to this point right now.
And man, like, there's a principle that's not really talked about. It's like obedience. Because it's like, as addicts, we're so rebellious. Like, even in our like meetings, we talk about suggestions and stuff like that. But dude, my sponsor was so tough on me. He wasn't suggesting. He's like, yo, if you don't do this, you're wasting good get high time. You know what I mean? He would say, bro, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to get the same thing that I got. But also, if you don't do the same thing, you're going to get what everyone else got. So he would tell me, like, bro, we bury kids like you every day. And just tell me, like, bro, like, you think you're going to make it? Like, bro, most people don't. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of problems that people take is that they don't gauge the enemy as strong as it is. They kind of take it lightly, and it's like, when you're preparing for a boxing fight or you're preparing for anything, it's like when you take it lightly, you don't do the work to prepare. It's like, dude, that's when you lose. But it's like when you prepare for the storm, you make it through the storm, and it's a lot of times people are on that pink cloud. They think the storm's not coming. And I always tell people, like, dude, the storm's always coming. There's always coming. And it's like, I talk to people all the time, and it's like when people don't go to meetings, like nothing really bad happens. You've been clean for years, you stop going to meetings, but I always say it's like driving without insurance. And I know for me, like the one day I don't have insurance, I get, rear-ended. So it's like, I want to be insured. I want to be able to have that peace in my life. And at the end of the day, it's like, I'm so grateful for the program. I want to carry the message. So it's not just about me either today, because I wouldn't be here if someone else didn't live that way. What are some things like in your first 90 days, like some revelations you had or like aha moments you did have?
Let's see. My first 90
How
days.
did you get over like not drinking?
How did I get over it?
Or like just come to terms with, because that's a lot of people's problem is like, how am I not going to drink and smoke weed?
I just gave up on the shit, man. It wasn't working, you know? I have done it, right? So it's like, I was just really ready to accept a new way of life. Really, that's really what it came down to. When the second time I came down here, I was really ready to accept a different way of life. I saw people like you who are doing better in recovery. And I wanted to have that. I've always wanted to have that. Yo, I used to hate saying I wasn't going to do it no more and then do it again.
Yeah.
I used to hate that, man.
Yeah, because we're so strong-minded at anything else we do, but this one thing we just can't do. It's like, we could put our minds to business, a rap career, relationships, anything we do. We put our minds to it, we could do it. But when we say we're not going to use again, as strong-willed as we are, and we use again, we're just like, why is this not working here,
Exactly that. And so if I can see people who've gone through the same thing, addiction, and their addiction can be arrested, right? Like I was reading something that says, however, it tells her all this stuff, that addiction, all these negatives. And then it says, however, it can be arrested. Psst, I'm looking for the solution. You know what I'm saying? So when I came down the second time, I was looking for the solution because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, and like, I'm writing a book too, and like in that book, it's like, for me, like one of my biggest aha moments was when someone broke down step 1 to me and separated myself from the disease. So prior to this, if I said I didn't feel like using and then I would go use, I would just see it as I changed my mind. Well, I didn't feel like using, now I do feel like using, so I'm going to go use. And then I would feel conflicted because I wanted to stay clean, but I wanted to use too. So which one was it? Well, on a good day, I feel like staying clean. On a bad day, I feel like using. And sometimes that flips around, and it's like I just was confused that, like, do I want to stay clean? Do I want to use? And when someone said that the disease wants you to get high and Brian wants to stay clean, and I have that separation, and I started to think about all the things the disease of addiction robbed from me. And someone would tell me, like, dude, I don't think you do want to use. I think Brian wants to stay clean. I think the disease is trying to get you to use. So then when I would feel like using, I was finally able to shift and be like, nah, that's not me. That's the disease. And when I had that first paradigm shift, I was able to have a common enemy that was the disease. And I was able to separate my thoughts. So when I do have thoughts about using, I'm able to be like, nah, that's the disease trying to get at me.
Yeah.
I know what I want. And that's why we do God's will and self-will. Like, dude, my God's will is to stay clean, have success, be happy, love people, be kind to others, and not use. And, the other will, the bad will, self-will, whatever you want to call it, wants instant gratification. That was my big shift when I first got clean, was when I started to realize that I'm not the disease.
Yeah. Yeah. I always knew I was a good person, man. I just had a problem. I knew I was a good person. It's just like I just couldn't shake this thing. And then I wasn't willing to accept help. I was stubborn. I wanted to do it all my way. So when I really came to grips with I can't fix myself, I need help,
Surrender.
And I accepted the help, that's when things started to turn around in my life.
So what's the last, you've been clean 2 years now?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, 3 years and some
Congrats.
change.
That's amazing. That's crazy how time flies. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy. All right, so you've been clean 3 years. What does those 3 years look like for you?
The 3 years have been absolutely incredible. So, okay, these are the things that has happened for me. I bought a new car, right? I wrote a book. I built a website, and I bought a house over these last 3 years.
It's so funny is that when they told me that you bought a house, I was like, that's the real estate guy. That's the first thing. Because I remember you telling me you did real estate.
Yeah. But what's funny is that every time I got something new, I would ask God, right? I say, God, I'm going to get this car. Please don't let this car go to my head. I don't want no ego. I want a nice car. But don't let me turn into an asshole because I got a nice car. You know what I mean? Don't let me have an ego, because the ego was the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's not like the material things is what it does to you spiritually after you've gotten it. And like there's certain things that I've learned when I got clean. Like someone would say, like just because I'm better off doesn't mean I'm better than.
Right.
And like on my mirror in my bathroom, I have written down on my mirror, I pray that like my desire for more doesn't rob me from the gratitude, the things that I have. Because that to me is the hardest thing for an ambitious man. Because someone who's ambitious, they're always wanting more. But when you allow that desire for more to rob you from enjoying what you already have, it's almost like a curse because you can't even enjoy your life because you're constantly comparing, you're constantly thinking about the next thing. But at the same time, you can't ever progress if you're not looking at the horizon and accomplishing more. I think I had like 4 or 5 years of not knowing which way to go. Eventually, I got to this point where I started to realize that it's like a balance, that there has to be a drive for more, but I need to have more gratitude of the things that I have.
Right. And one of the most important things that I got in these 3 years and some change, the respect and admiration of my family again, the bond that I have rebuilt with my wife and my children, the ability to show my kids that Dad, anybody can go through problems and come out on the other side stronger. So those are some of the most important things that I gained. And then also the respect I have gained for myself. I actually caught myself in the mirror while living at the grad house, hardly not recognizing myself. I walked past the mirror, I was like, oh, snap, that's you. Damn, B, you looking good. And I smiled at myself because it was a long time in the past when I didn't even want to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
So those are some of the most valuable things that I have gained in my recovery thus far.
Yeah, I have a gratitude list that I keep in my wallet, and one of the main things that I could look myself in the mirror. I remember I used to know where all the mirrors were and purposely avoid them at school, at my house. I remember getting like ready in the morning, I would have like the lights off because like I just couldn't look at myself. Like I hated seeing myself. And then when I was out places, sometimes I would be in a good mood. And as soon as I would catch my reflection, it would like ruin my day. There's just no price you can put for loving yourself. It's like dude, you can have all the money in the world. Like if you don't love yourself, like that's like the core of your existence.
Right.
When you have one of something, you have to love it. You know what I mean? Like you ain't gonna get another one.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many things in life that we can easily trade out. Even like your body, but like you yourself, like who you are, it's never gonna change. Like your life, you're only gonna get one life, and like even though your body might change, like you need to love yourself where you're at because it's the only thing you're gonna have ever.
Yeah. I want to do something, all right?
Yeah.
All right. I got this song, all right?
You're gonna rap for us?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
I was on dope, now I'm loving me. Look how fly, nigga, look when a nigga in recovery. I made the worst part of me disappear like Houdini, I'm cold. And I came back smelling like a rose. I was on dope, now I'm loving me. Look how fly, nigga, look when a nigga in recovery. I made the worst part of me disappear like Houdini, I'm cold. And I came back smelling like a rose. I ain't mad with nobody down the way, but one summer I spent more than 10K down 17th and J. I was fumbling the bag, fucking up the rent money in the mortgage. On top of that, Jimmy Stoffer snorted. Fly as a rich nigga in the big city of Philly. To make it worse, a nigga tried to kill me. I was hooked on phonics, head pounding like Mantronics, getting higher than an airplane pilot. I was on dope, now I'm loving me. Look how fly, nigga, look when a nigga in recovery. I made the worst part of me disappear like Houdini, I'm cold. And I came back smelling like a rose.
Bars. There you go. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Tell me about your clothing company.
All right, so my clothing company is Sobriety is Gangsta. That's the name of my clothing. Sobriety is Gangsta. I have clothing, merch, even blankets. Sobriety is Gangsta and Clean is Gangsta because there's different fellowships out here, right? So it's available at baldbossmedia.com/shop. That's bald like my head, boss like what I am, media, baldbossmedia.com/shop. And I made the Sobriety is Gangsta and Clean is Gangsta because getting clean was one of the most gangster things I did in my life.
Yeah.
To look my problem in the eye and have accountability for it and just come out on the other side with more strength and more wisdom, to me is gangster. And nothing to be like gangster, like doing harm to somebody, but it's more of like the hip hop thing, like that's gangster.
Yeah.
So sobriety is gangster. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And you know what? Like when I was young, like I really thought I was like thugged out and all this shit. But it's like, I used to always say like, getting clean was the most thugged out shit I ever did, because it's like, man, all that stuff that I did to fit in and stuff was all based on insecurity and trying to, fit in, whatever. And it's like, man, recovery is like the only thing that we do as like a real survival. It's like, we ain't doing this to look good. We ain't doing this to be cool. Like, or backs are on the wall. It takes a lot of humility to call another man and ask him for help. It takes a real man to admit that they have issues, to love and to cry and, hug people like we do in our fellowship. And like to me, like that's really dope. Like that's really gangster. And it's like in recovery, when I would see people talk about they used to sell dope and were gangsters and all this stuff, and then they got clean. One of my closest friends, Corey, he would be like, man, being there for your kids is gangster. He would say like, man, paying the bills is gangster. Being present with your family is gangster, and like stuff like that. And like people in recovery that I would see started to sponsor and mentor me and change the way I view men. Because as young adults, the way that I viewed men was like paid in full. I love rap music till today, but a lot of the stuff in rap music, I was taking lyrics and really applying them to my life and thinking that was like the Bible, and really womenizing and like all these things and wanting to be the man instead of a man.
There we go.
That's
know
what
what
I mean?
Talking about.
Trying to be the man and not a man, because here I am, the man at all these places, and it's like I got my mom crying at home, so I needed to prioritize. It feels really good to be clean. It's like the best feeling, man. Like when I see people using, struggling to get clean, it's a no-brainer for me. It's like, dude, anything you ever dreamed of and wanted, you can get clean. Especially, like, bro, you're a drug addict. You got so much gift and power and resilience and smarts and hustle. Like if you just put the drugs down, worked the steps, got to know yourself, applied some therapy in your life, got some good, strong, positive people in your life, did a gratitude list on a daily basis, 6-7 months, you'd skyrocket, And a lot of times people they don't have the humility to really ask for help.
And everything you said is exactly what I did my second time, man. And that's what you just said, man. And wanting to be a man instead of the man, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've had all those same thoughts.
Yeah.
When I was hustling and doing those, I just wanted to be the man. I wanted to, be that peacock and just, strut around and look at me. But at the same time, I was trying to be the man. I was failing as a man.
Yep.
And now that I want to be a man, the things that I'm accumulating provide for myself and my family. It's just a beautiful place that I'm in right now, and I'm still growing. I go to meetings and people got 30 years and stuff like that. So I know I'm still growing, and I know that I have to be grounded, not be a big head about it, not have an ego about what I'm at, but I love the place that I'm at, and I'm still going through adversity, right? I'm going through adversity from some things in my past from when I was using. But I'm happy I'm able to do that clean. I'm happy I'm able to do that clean because I have a clear vision and strength to go through these problems and live life on life's terms. Because life is always going to show up there. It's always going to show up. But now I get to do it clean.
Yes,
and
sir.
I don't have to have a scapegoat every time a problem comes up. I got to get a bottle or a drug. Now I can just be an adult about it and think through it, call for help about it, but I don't have to pick up a substance because something has happened in my life.
And it's like, dude, I know a lot of people, like the longer I used to think people who didn't use were crazy. Like, you don't even drink. Like, it was so crazy to me. And then it was like, okay, well, you're an addict, so you can't drink. But like the longer I stay clean, the more and more I run into people who don't use and have no substance abuse history. Being clean and being 100% sober is now becoming like a trend where people are seeing like we don't need to drink. And like all this advertisement we were given as kids and as adults and all this stuff about, drinking or whatever. Man, there's celebrities that own liquor companies that don't drink. Like I read 50 Cent's book. Like, bro, he owns a liquor company. He don't drink. He's like, bro, if I'm drinking, it's probably water.
Right.
You know, he don't drink. He don't smoke weed.
Right.
He don't smoke weed. And it's like, you got Future over here rapping about Percocet, Molly Percocet. He don't do no drugs.
He don't?
No.
I didn't know that.
Future don't do no drugs.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, a lot of people are selling something that they don't even get high on themselves. Even the idea of using or whatever. I don't look down at people that drink or use even like a little bit, you know? But at the same time, I see such a benefit to it. I couldn't imagine accomplishing 1/5 of the things that I did, even if I could drink on the weekends. It's just such a waste of time and just how I feel. I feel so good clean. It's like the best feeling. Everything I've ever wanted through drugs, I found staying clean. So, hey, I want to thank you for being on the show. I love you, man. Let's do a shout out for your company again. This is called Clean as Gangster.
Clean as Gangster and Sobriety is Gangster. Available at baldbossmedia.com/shop.
What's the name of your book?
My book is Money is God. It's my life before I was in recovery. So this show you everything I did wrong to get up to the point where I'm at right now.
Are you coming out with a sequel?
I'm coming out with another book, but it's about recovery.
Okay.
So Money is God is how I was living in the hood, my life and my friend's life growing up during the 80s and the 90s in North Philadelphia. Money is God, because we thought money was the end all, be all to all our problems, which we found out was wrong. So that's Money is God. It's more of like a classic gangster book. And it, like I said, it tells the life of how I was living in North Philadelphia. That's also available on the same website. And then Sobriety is Gangster is how I'm living now.
That's what's up. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. This show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.